Yo, what's good, guys? We are back at it again with another reviewing your team's video. I think for now with this series, I'm going to try to only do teams that were submitted after the last one went live. So some of you guys may have to resubmit, but I feel like it helps nobody if I sit here and review teams that were sent in like a week, 2 weeks ago. Because then people that just sent theirs in miss out. They get sent to the backlog, and by the time I've reviewed your team, it's probably out of date. So I think we're going to try to stick to more recent submissions, which would be April 16th in this case. But I will make an exception for Alan here because he says he has every team card in the game. So says he went 4-2 first year playing. So since it's your first year playing and this is your lineup and there's no Beltron, you probably don't know about live series collections. Go to your collections tab, go lock in for Beltron and all the other cards, and you'll already have a way better team, way better starting staff, and bullpen's mostly just team affinity. But there are some collection cards that help you there as well. So if you actually have every card, no reason to not go lock in for Beltron. All right, so here's our first April 16th. So we're working forward now, hopefully catching up because we have a million submissions to go through. Cooper here, 180,000. Don't know what live series to go for. Marte's kind of tricky now for your team. I think he makes sense because then you can move Lawler to short and play Marte at second and then run the Martinez boost, and you'll probably be in a pretty good spot. One of the worst defensive outfields I think I've ever seen in my life. So maybe work on getting Teddy Ballgame out of the lineup. But other than that, pretty solid. Since lineup structure won't matter a lot if you change a lot of guys around. Do not like the CC, do not like Glasnow, so I probably swap them out for some people. Noah Schultz is a little iffy at this point, but he's still solid. So decent starting staff, and then bullpen wise, don't like Robertson. If you're not on a high rank, I despise this Robertson card. I would probably go like even like a Yimi Garcia or somebody like that will probably suit you better. You don't have Raleigh, I'd go get Raleigh. And then you can upgrade the Tanner Scott. With Inside Edge, this one might be potentially as good, but the Diamond one just throws like the hardest slider in the game, which is a good tool to have. But pretty solid team there. Probably like a 7. The outfield defense is really bad. The starting rotation is not awesome. And the bullpen is fine, but you got to get like Raleigh in there and just some guys that fit you better. But if you want to spend 180K on Cattell, that is in your right, and he would be pretty good, but you're not going to have the parallels on him, so he's going to be lackluster for a little bit. Next up, we got Logan here. Don't have a lot. Trying to get live series done. Mets boost, Sotos, and Lindor. Not bad at all. And he doesn't hate playing Santander in left, which works because then Soto's primary right and Santander's left. I don't love Trout in center field, to be honest, but it works, especially if you're raking with him. It's not a bad team by any means. Yeah, I mean, I don't hate it. How many lefties we looking at? 2, 3. Good amount of switches. I mean, honestly, not bad at all. He's still got bench depth because I guess he worked some other Mets in. Broncos, obviously, one. And then Clay Holmes in the. Okay, that's a little iffy. I don't know if I would go that far as to run Clay Holmes in the starting staff just to get that boost over like just using another bench slot and just having a better pitcher in there. I think the new DeGrom might. No, he's gonna be a Rangers card, so that is tough. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't really overhaul this team. It really depends on like how great you're hitting with Ortiz. I think the outfield defense is kind of the scariest part of this team. So I don't love Trout in center. Juan's probably your best defender in his primary with as much reaction as he has. I wouldn't be shocked if he's not your best outfield defender. I think Trout's range is just really limited. I think there's a world where you either move like Soto or Santander to DH, or maybe even Santi to like first, and then move Trout around and just find a better center fielder that can track down more stuff. There's not a ton of options, but there is like Brian Reynolds. I know you said you're trying to finish live series, but something to think about. Probably give this team Probably like an 8. I think it's pretty solid. I mean, I don't know. Santi's a good cornerstone. Ted Simmons is a good cornerstone card. It has Soto, has Trout. Probably like an 8.5. Like it's pretty good. Like other than like having some collections done, other than Ted Simmons. I think the pitching staff is just kind of sabotaging you right now because Schultz is cool if he's like your 5 starter at this point. I don't think he's insane, but Otani, I'd rather not pitch with personally. Arieta's cool, Wheeler's cool. Just kind of lacking that true ace, but pretty solid team. Wow. So he says he has no stubs, so no budget to work with. Just wants kind of guys that he should prioritize getting. Me on like a super budget, that's not a bad team. I'd rather hit with Soler and deal with the slightly subpar defense than use Bellinger. And then obviously we have the new Easter card. So if you get like McMahon in and then run him at second and just play Cattell at short, you'd probably be chilling there. This starting staff looks a little suspect. Not the biggest Paul Skeens enjoyer myself. I mean, on a budget, it's not bad rotation. I mean, I guess you have Ted Simmons. You do. All right, so that's kind of why you have Skeens. Bullpen isn't terrible. I don't know what we're doing with Keegan Aiken and Jake Diekman. I'm sure they're very nice budget cards, but I feel like there's some better options, especially with the Easter program. Like Soto will come in and instantly replace one of them as a lefty. I mean, how many lefty? Whoa, actually, lefty, 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 lefty. So you have like 7 lefties in your bullpen. You gotta get some righties, my guy. You gotta go grind out like Raleigh or Justin Martinez or somebody. You gotta get some righties. Go run the new Diamond Quest for Urseg, something like that. Seems probably like a 6. I think the only cornerstone players are like Marte, Santander, Kyle Tucker. Honestly, like Ted Simmons is take or leave it. Some people will hit really good with them. Some people won't. It just kind of depends on you. But the starting staff and bullpen kind of need to be overhauled. So you got a lot to work on. All right, so Aaron wants feedback before he starts his ranked push. Sorry about the delay then. 6,700 peak rating. So he's been in some Hall of Fame. Not hitting good with Manny, so he's pretty much a defensive liability. I get that. Plan on replacing Bazzano with Griffey. Have 210K. Okay, so we got a budget. We have a budget. Oh my, Trent Grisham. That's interesting. How many lefties are we talking about here? 2, 3. All right, so good balance too. So not terrible. JD in left is not a war crime, to put it nice. Or Santi in left if you find first baseman you like more. So it's kind of always hard to know how well. I mean, he said he doesn't hit well with Manny, so JD is basically the same defender with just a worse arm. So it wouldn't be the end of the world to have him out there. Or like I said, if you find a first baseman that you like, you could do that. It seems like you have Red Sox boost active, so if you like Ortiz and you want to run him at first and get Santi in left, that would be fine. Trent Grisham's a little suspect. Did he say he planned on getting in center field? Griffey. Okay. So that'd be another lefty. So that would be, in that hypothetical, that'd be 1, 2, 3. So I think Weatherholt's kind of a linchpin here for how many lefties you can actually have. So I think he's kind of holding stuff up a little bit. I mean, I like Bregman. You have the Red Sox boost. I like Bregman. That's a pretty cheap. You already have him, clearly, because you have new threads done. I love Bregman at third or second base. I think he brings really good value, especially if you're on All-Star. You need guys that will hit home runs. So I like Bregman for that reason. Not bad. We'll go over the rotation. Okay, so Kluber's going to be very iffy on All-Star. And he probably still won't be awesome on Hall of Fame, but it just kind of depends on who you play. If you play a player that can't hit stuff in the corner or doesn't know that you're trying to put a sinker or a cutter in more or less a corner every single pitch, then he'll probably be great. And if you play anybody that's halfway decent with half a brain, he'll probably be terrible. So he's kind of a blow-up candidate. Other than that, I kind of like the staff. Buchholz is a little suspect, but you're running for the Red Sox boost. Don't know how great that is because you're getting like +3s at the most, I think, without running the full team. I think it helps the starting staff a little, or pitchers a little more. I think it gives them like 3 hits at tier 1. So I get it for that reason. Class A, I would rather run Felix Bautista than Class A if you're on All-Star. I would rather run the new Michael Kopech. I would rather run Mason Miller. So there's some comparable players for you over there. And then other than that, I like the pen. You have a good amount of lefties. You got 4. You have a pretty mixed starting staff, so I don't hate it. It's pretty solid. I think current format, I think this team's probably like, I would say a 7.5, but you said you can't hit with Manny, so he's just running out there chasing butterflies. So I would probably say like a solid like 7, but you make some changes. I think this is easily like an 8, 8.5 squad. Should be pretty solid, especially with Griffey. I'm not sure what swing he has, but he should be close to defensively like what Bazana is. All right, next squad, we got Alex here. Doesn't do a lot for the color thing when you send 5 emails in a row, but it works. That's 10 days ago, so he's actually giving us like a more updated squad, I believe. Pulled Trout 3 days ago. Okay, go off. Currently at 300 subs. I'm gonna hope that's 300K. I'm gonna hope that's 300. Oh my, okay, we got a nice team. Got a really nice team. That is probably how I would run the outfield, especially with the superfractor Brian. Tedrick. So, okay, we're playing the game. We got some superfractors. Santi, Martinez at DH. I don't love him because he doesn't have quirks. I think just him and Judge are 2 really good options. It just kind of depends on who you hit better with. Judge is going to kill him on quirks. So I think Judge is kind of the de facto DH, but if you don't hit well with the tall players, then there's not a whole lot to say about it. I wouldn't change a ton. I don't love Lindor. He is nice, like lefty insurance, but you kind of already have that with like Marte and Mookie. But it's decent enough when you got guys like Santi and Trout who don't hit lefties quite as well, and then you've got Soto who doesn't hit lefties quite as well. It's pretty solid. I mean, if you're saving up for Randy and Shohei, I feel like you're chilling. And then here's the bullpen. Did you include your rank at any point? Which hitter have? Okay, so he's on Hall of Fame, so he's at least 700. So that gives me a better idea. Suter, he has a role. I'm not going to sit here and tell you he's going to be great, but yeah, you know, if you do end up making it the legend, you can just kind of shrink PCIs by spamming the slider, and then you have the splitter to work with. So I think he's got potential, but I think he's also probably the biggest question mark in your bullpen. This team is probably like a 9. I think it only really gets better by having like Randy and Shohei. I assume Shohei is like basically his last card to Beltron, so, or one of the last big cards. So really, really solid team here. Not bad at all. I would consider like DH and Judge, but if you don't hit well with them, you don't hit well with them. All right, next team, we got Matthew here. Trying to make a push for World Series. Carson, so I'm not sure who that's going to be. Probably the shortstop, Williams, plus good defense. Bullpen gets shelled. Okay, so we'll see. Okay, so you're playing Carson at second. Don't like that. I feel like there's probably better options than that. And hitting 300 isn't like crazy in game. So it just kind of depends on how well you hit with cards. Raul in left, interesting. So that's what, 2? Only 2 lefties. Not the end of the world. Good amount of switch hitters. P5 Varitek. Using Richie. I mean, I like Labor at second over Carson. Like, if you're running Carson at second and your defense is that he hits like baseline for what I would expect a card to hit in this game, and then he plays good second base defense, that's probably not a good enough reason to keep him around, to be 100% honest with you. We got some new Easter cards, though, so like McMahon could slot in. Even Jazz, I think I'd probably like Jazz more. That would only give you 3 lefties. Just kind of depends on how lucky you get at that point between like facing John and Randy. But he said the starting, his lineup isn't really the issue. So starters, You have a super fractured screwball, more than I can say for myself. I think his spin point's just too janky, and his pitching clutch is actually pretty bad. So I don't love him for that reason. Areta, cool. Bueller, I really hate this Bueller. I do not think he's a good card, to be honest. He usually performs well somehow, but I don't think he's a good card. Schultz, Chris Sale, pretty solid, good amount of lefties. I think my biggest question marks are probably Bueller and Screwball. But if you're pitching well with them, that's cool. Bullpen gets rocked. Okay, let's see. I think Mason Miller is always scary if you're not on like Legend or GOAT. I think on those difficulties, he goes crazy. I think when you're on Hall of Fame, all he really has is like the outlier fastball because the away slider isn't going to shrink PCIs that much. And it's not like he throws a hard slider, so he doesn't really have that to get lefties out or switch hitters out. So I think he's kind of iffy there. I think this Billy Wagner's trash. I think Gold Matt Strom is better than this Billy Wagner. So there's that for free. And then Kenley's trash. I'd probably replace him with do you have like a splitter guy? Not really. So you could go Felix. That's like 3 true outcome pitcher though. Like you're either giving up a home run, striking the dude out, or like getting a ground out for the most part with Felix. So that's a little scary there. You could go Felix or Jeff Hoffman. I think they'd both be pretty good. They would work for you. Or you can get the new Lucas Urseg. So that's one of the benefits of me waiting a little bit to do this. So there is a new Lucas Urseg. There's also the new Gregory Soto who would blow this Billy Wagner out of the water. So I think there's your bullpen help. It was more so just a factor of time more than me reviewing it. All right, next up we got Brody here, 820. Jordan is over 500. Weatherholt's over 500. Love to see it, man. The most slept on card in the world, honestly. All right, so this is interesting. I'm going to have to get in the lab real quick. Okay, I figured it out for me. You guys are just going to have to deal with this, but I have figured it out for myself. All right, so Manny in left, Roman in center, Trout in right, Marte second base, Santi at first, Napoli at catcher, Yordito, Corey, Weatherholt. All right, so that's already what 4 lefties. So you're on the edge right now. I'm not the biggest Napoli fan, honestly. So that's kind of iffy. I don't love Roman's like. If Roman isn't hitting for you, I'd get him out. I don't love his defense in center field. I just feel like he's a little slow, doesn't get the best reactions. So maybe center field's more of something you should improve on. Another Weatherholt guy at third base, but you said you're hitting really good with him, so I don't hate it. You got like Max Clark as a late game defensive sub. You got Ellie as a late game defensive sub. So that's not terrible there. I think I really like that Correa. I think an interesting thing you can do is play Ellie, start Ellie. If it's a righty, you're in the money. If it's a lefty, you put in Correa. And I think that will serve you pretty well. And then other than that, it's like center field defense because you know Manny's going to mash but play bad defense. So I think you kind of have to compensate for that with a good defensive center fielder. If you want to run the new PCA and bat him like ninth, that's your priority. But dude, I'm getting off of this camera. I can't lie. All right, back to normalcy. So I'll just kind of have to hit one of those numbers. Corbin, do not like. Schultz, cool. Leiter, cool. Areta, cool. Buchholz, cool. So don't like Corbin. You got him P4. I don't know if that's just because he's the best of the rest or what, but I don't like him personally. I feel like he's pretty easy to hit. And then bullpen wise, we got Kopech. All right, so I'll get Presley out. I've soured on Presley quite a bit because the speed differentials just aren't good. In theory, his pitches are good. On GOAT, I'm sure you'd be very nice. On lower difficulties, not super happy with him. And then I'd be a little concerned about Martinez and Kopech because I feel like they're the same pitcher. And then Kopech and Miller are pretty close. You're working the slow cutter with the outlier fastball with Kopech, Whereas with Miller, you're just more so. It just kind of depends on how well you're getting along with both of them. But you could just be using the Kopeck to get multiplayer XP. But I think it's pretty good. Like, center field defense, I don't love. Napoli, I don't love. But who are your other options other than like Ted Simmons, really, who a lot of people also don't get along with? I think if you want a budget option, you got Soderstrom here, but it does add another lefty. So you'd probably have to find some balance elsewhere. If you want to keep your 4, you could easily go get like a better defensive center fielder that isn't named Max Clark or PCA, because that'd be another lefty. So you're kind of in a spot right there. And then you could get Soderstrom to play catcher. So there's options. I think Ted Simmons fixes a lot of this, but I don't know if you're willing to go out of your way to lock him in. To get Skeens, who also isn't going to be great. But Skeens could take the burn. I view them as pretty similar, where like they're both equally likely to get absolutely shelled or have a shutdown start. So that's just kind of up to you. But pretty solid team here. I think this is probably like an 8, 8.5. He's knocking on the door. He is World Series, actually. But he's chasing that 900,000 rating. But thing a legend, you're probably going to want some better outfield defense. All right, next up, we got Luke here. 250K. He's actively flipping. So this was 3 days ago. So he's probably easily above like 300, 350 now. All right, so Clark in center. I think it depends on how well you get along with that card. I think an instant improvement, if you don't want to change anything, is Ohtani to right, Soto to left, and then DH Jordan. And that's just going to be way better for you defensively in the outfield. Shohei's not going to be awesome because his reaction isn't great, but he's at least fast, whereas like Jordan is just a potato in left field. Like there's just nothing. Like if it's not hit directly at him, and even then he might get a bad jump and move out of the way. I see. So there's another easy fix for you. Get Ohtani out of the starting rotation so you can actually play him in the outfield. And that'll help you out a little bit there. Looks like you're running Mets for Soto and Lindor. Don't hate it. Really no great pitcher options, huh? So has Areta, has Ubaldo, has them. So they seem to have treated you well. Did we get okay? No rating. So Sale seems to be doing pretty good for you. I would just probably get Ohtani out. I feel like as a pitcher, he's like a replacement level pitcher. There's not too many great pitchers you can work that slow cutter with, but I feel like most people that use Ohtani aren't really doing that with him anyway. And then bullpen wise, don't like Class A. Don't like Class A. You've already got Felix. You've already got Justin. So you've already got some really hard throwing righties. You've also already got slow throwing righties. So I feel like you need a lefty. Yeah, you've only got 2 lefties. So get another lefty in there. Get like get the new Gregory Soto. I feel like you're chilling. But overall, pretty solid team there. I mean, has Gil Hodges, has I think Ohtani and the starting staff's a little scary. I think the bullpen's a little shaky just because you don't have a lot of lefties. But that's probably like a 9. That's a really nice, desirable team. We'll knock it to an 8.5, but I'm sure he'll take this feedback in and put Ohtani in right, Soto in left, DH Jordan, and that'll be an instant improvement for you. All right, so next team, we've got Cyrus here. 20, 30K away from O'Day, so he's closing in on getting the AL East done. Shohei, Mookie, and Ryan Howard. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. So Gil Hodges at third base. That is interesting. I'll have to look and see how bad he actually is there, but my initial impression is, what are we doing here? Get him on first base, send Ryan Howard into the moon. I'm sure if you look at splits, he's probably hitting 700 against righties for you, and he's probably batting 250 against lefties, and just that's probably why you think he's one of your better hitters. So I would get Gil Hodges on first, and then you can figure out third base. You can move Seager out of position to third. I see you're not above it. You can run. I mean, there's options. This is a war crime. This is a crime against humanity right here to not have this man on the field. So I would do Soto to right. And then, I think you pick between running Judge and Ohtani. Soto's going to be way better defensively. He's going to hit better than probably both of them. So I think it just kind of depends on who you like more out of these. You DH them, and then you run Santi in left. I'm not the biggest fan of. If Gil Hodges at third is working for you, you could also move him to first. There's a lot of variables here. And I do not like Marte in center field. This might actually be the worst defensive outfield I've ever seen. So you have achieved new heights on the series. I think you cannot have these two guys in the corner and then have Ketel Marte in center field. So something's got to give there. I wouldn't hate running Tatis, but I think I'll just run Soto out there instead. So lineup needs some work. So I'm not loving that. Says he's close to getting Darren O'Day. I guess he takes either Kenley or Suter's spot. And that would give him a pretty good bullpen. Nando, Zim, Ohtani, Schultz, and Johan. Not a big Johan guy. Not a Johan enjoyer. So, like I said with the last guy, don't love pitching Shohei. At least you have an outfield to where I don't think Shohei has to play. But yeah, I'd get Johan Santana out of there. I don't really know who a great replacement for him would be. So he's dedicating like all his stubs to the AL East and getting that done. So we might have some lab work to do here. So upon further inspection, I think the new egg hunt, Logan Webb, would be cool. I think Kluber would be cool. Just depends on what difficulty you play on. Carlton would probably be better slightly. I'm trying to think of lefties. I feel like you already kind of have the lefties that most people have. New Edward Cabrera wouldn't be terrible. Probably will struggle with control a little bit. I think this Max Fried for like 6K, 4K, whatever he is, will probably give you very similar outings, if not even better and less volatile. And then I think Chris Sale, again, worth a shot. Kind of depends on where you are in ranked as to how good he'll be. But, I mean, a lot of your rotation depends on that. Like, Jordan Zimmerman is cool on every difficulty. Gets a lot better on, like, Legend and GOAT. And then Nando, I think minimum Hall of Fame for Nando. I'm sure there are people throwing perfect games with him on All-Star. But I think you really got to be at least on Hall of Fame to start even tapping into his potential. But pretty decent squad. There's just some people out here that I don't know about. So I think this is 5.5. Worst squad of the day. Worst squad of the day. I think it's really just your outfield defense is putrid and Juan Soto's on the bench. So, I mean, Juan Soto on the bench should be minus 2 points immediately. So you got some stuff you can change around with how good you're hitting at lefties and the fact that, I don't know. I'm getting mixed signals because a lot of your team would be better on high ranks and then a lot of them are like low ranked kind of mashers like Ryan Howard. So I'm not sure. All right, next team, we got Kai here. 120K, 400, 500 in ranked. So he's trying to get to 600. Can't sell anyone. They're all locked in. Okay, so at least Trout, he's locked in for Napoli, and he's finished the NL, so not bad there. I'm not the biggest Bellinger fan. I'm sure the reaction's very nice. I'm sure the arm is decent, but he just doesn't really hit to a level that I love. And that's what, three lefties, not a bad number. Santi on the bench is crazy. I don't know how you make that work. I mean, you'd have to run Trout in center, which I'm not the biggest fan of. Or you DH Santi. I mean, I think he'll hit better than Ohtani for a lot of people. I think virtually every good player will probably hit better with Santander than Ohtani. It just kind of depends. Like you said, you're like 500 ranked, trying to get to 600. So I'm sure Ohtani will probably beast out there. But at higher ranks, when people know how to pitch better lefty-lefty, I feel like he's going to get fried. So I probably wouldn't get used to him. But at your current rank, that might work. Center field, I feel like at low ranks, you kind of need... It's like, at low ranks, you kind of need good center field defense. And at the really high ranks, you kind of need better center field defense. I don't have a great name for you. Like, I'd probably rather run the new PCA or Max Clark in center field than Bellinger. If you're running Bellinger at first or right field, I feel like he has okay value. But in center field, I'm not the biggest fan. He'll get a good card. Don't worry about it. He always does. So you don't have to use a subpar Bellinger right now. He'll get a good card eventually. Starting staff we have here, Zim, like I said, nowhere close to his true potential. He gets a lot better on Hall of Fame, legend, GOAT. Crochet's a good all-star pitcher. Schultz, iffy. Wheeler with no splitter. He's all right. And then I think Skeens would be okay all-star pitcher. It's just like people are either going to sit on the four seam or sit on the breaking ball, and you kind of have to use him. Yeah, I have to like Nolan Ryan him and just throw the sinker a lot with him. So if he's working for you, he's working. But there's not a ton of great suggestions there because the best all-star pitchers are going to be like John Donaldson and Randy, where the control on them won't really matter. It's more about the speed differential and having outlier. And there's not a ton of people that have that. Cade Smith, out. 3-pitch guy, no go. Not a big Griffin Jacks fan, but if he's cooking, then cool. And then Mark Davis, I think, is a pretty bot pitcher. I think Matt Strahm will do you better as a lefty there. And then Cade Smith, you got Hoffman, who I think is better, but you're also playing a dangerous game here by having Felix and another split guy in your bullpen. It's not bad if you just want to always have that look to show people. So, like, Felix is tired, you can bring in Hoffman or whatever. But I would not pitch them both in the same game because they're basically the same pitcher. So I'd probably swap him out for Hoffman, swap him out for Matt Strahm. You'd probably be cooking, or the new Gregory Soto. It's kind of up to you at that point. It's probably like a 7. It's always hard to see at lower. I mean, when you're like in these ranks, it's more about just getting better at the game. The cards don't necessarily matter a ton. All right, next up we got Micah here, 330, trying to get Shohei. So, you know, if that was 3 days ago, he's probably getting somewhat close. Or already has him. Need help on a new starting pitcher. Sale has fallen off. Shocker. It's almost like he beats up on bad players. Almost. So, lineup-wise, got Trout, Roman Anthony, Soto. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty good. Other than having, like, Chase Headley, which a lot of people actually prefer J-Ram over Headley, and you've already got him super fractured, and he's actually a 95 with the inside edge, so that's pretty crazy. There, I think Seager at DH probably wouldn't be my first pick, but I mean, if you're one of the people that just hit crazy go with Corey Seager, I don't hate it at all. He is a little lackluster against lefties, but the clutch makes up for it. So lineup wise, I don't hate it at all. I think you could do with more switch hitters. So Brian Reynolds always would be a good option. I think he's a direct upgrade to like Roman Anthony, where he'll play better defense than Roman, and he's a switch hitter with better power. So I think that would be worth prioritizing. But also, if you're like Shohei away from Beltran, then Beltran just takes over, and you're good. So starting wise, he said that Sale has fallen off. So he's got Clemens, has them. Okay. So good amount of lefties. So if you want another lefty, we'll just refer back to section A here. Not a lot of great options. So you might just be looking at a righty at this point, like Areta or somebody. I mean, Nando, after you get Shohei, I wouldn't actually pitch Shohei. I'd probably pitch Fernando, assuming you're decently rated. He did not include his rating, but if you're on at least Hall of Fame, I think Fernando would probably be better. If you're not, then I'd be surprised that Crisell isn't absolutely frying. Has Danny, so I feel like he's probably on a higher rank. Got 4 lefties in the pen. Has Darren O'Day. He's been pitching Darren O'Day quite a bit. I mean, no Strahm's crazy. I think Strahm's probably better than Danny. Danny is like, if you're on like Legend and you're spamming lefty, I think Danny is probably better. But against most players, I feel like Matt Strahm will probably be better than Andrew Miller, better than Danny, or at least he has been for me. So that would be my advice there. This team, I'm leaning like 8.5. It's pretty much just what it would look like if you had basically every live series, but had not done collections other than like Ted Simmons. So he's going out of his way for Santi. I think going out of your way for Brian wouldn't hurt things, but if you are just Shohei away, then obviously Beltran gets in, and Brian either doesn't play or he takes one of these guys' spots. So I think that'd probably be my biggest suggestion there. You've super factored Ted Simmons. If you don't like him, you have so few lefties in your lineup, you could afford to go with Soderstrom. But very good team. All right, next up we got Jackson. He included his rating here, 220K on hitters. Interesting. So pretty good rating. So he's officially on Legend, hopefully firmly. It kind of depends on if he wins or loses. He could bounce back and forth, which would not be a fun place to be. Because you got cards like Joey Bats that are going to be really rough on Legend against righties, seeing away sliders all the time. You got Bazzana, who's not going to be awesome. Manny, I think, sticks. Pendleton could stick. That's a tough one. At least he's a switch hitter, I guess. Did not include the bullpen, so he's only looking for hitter help. So we already have an incomplete grade. I can't really give a true grade here for a squad. I am going to try to help him. I mean, it's just tough. Like, once you get to Legend and GOAT, you just kind of need a lot of switch hitters. So, like, Brian Reynolds would be really good. That would shore up your center field defense, similar to, like, what Bazzana does, but also being a switch hitter. And then past that point, you're kind of stuck going for, like, I think that'd probably be my biggest is Brian, assuming he's not, like, an insane amount at this point, which he very much could be, because he was, like, 150. I think a lot of people are realizing just how valuable switch hitters are this year, and we spelled that wrong. Okay, now I know he should be popping up here. There he is. Let's see. So he's actually 145K right now. So I mean, it's a lot, but next to like having Beltran, he is probably the second best center fielder. You just see a lot of people that have him also have Beltran, so they run him in left. But in center, he'll be pretty valuable for you. Takes away a lefty. I mean, it's tough, man. After you get to Legend, it just kind of depends on who you play. If you play people that don't like spam the meta stuff, you're cool. If you play people that just spam away sliders and they switch their bullpen pitchers every single time, having good lineup structure matters a lot. Having a lot of good switch hitters matters a lot. And you got to be real precise with your PCI would be my general advice. I think other than Brian Reynolds, there's not a ton of great suggestions for you. You just got to go out there and hoop, for real. Not the best advice, but it's the realest advice. So next up, we got Jonathan. I think he sent me, hopefully his updated team because it's 3 days ago. So pretty good squad here. We're looking at 1, 2, 3 lefties. So I thought it looked like more initially. I'd probably rather run Bregman at third over Vlad. Kind of up to you, though. Nothing wrong with the lineup. I don't think. Hoping to say for Randy, Bregman or Vlad. Yeah. So okay. So I answered that. I like Bregman personally. That is not the starting staff. All right. So another Burns enjoyer. Not okay. Don't love Burns. Don't love Bueller. Don't love Fried. So if they're not pitching great for you, I'd probably cycle them out for some other people. You said you want to say for Randy. I think there might be better stuff you could do with those stubs, but it's kind of up to you. If you do want that true ace, I do understand kind of having that. It is a nice feeling to have. I got 3 lefties up front, and then pretty good. Other than Ryan Presley, you got him P2, so if he's been good for you, cool. Like I've been saying, don't love the speed differentials. So I would cycle him out for somebody else, maybe even like the new Gregory Soto. It would give you 4 lefties, but I think that Soto is good enough to where you could pitch him to either side, or you can go Lucas Erceg, who I probably should have been recommending more over like Mason Miller. I think he takes Mason Miller's spot more than a lot of these other guys, but pretty solid squad here. Rotation, yeah. So I think rotation is definitely the biggest one here. I think Leiter is the only safe guy, and everybody else just depends. Because I've seen Schultz be really bad recently. A bunch of people have just seen him a lot. Not like a ton of great. I mean, I feel like you have like a lot of the better budget options here, and it's just about getting towards more of the top end guys. And if you don't have collections done, or if you can't just outright go out and get Randy, then it is kind of tough. But eventually you'll probably have John at least. So you got that to look forward to. It just kind of depends on its price coming down as the weeks go. But pretty solid. Probably give this like the lineup's legit, probably like an 8.5, 9. But the rest of the team, it bogs it down a little bit. So I think like 8.25. I think we'll split the difference on this one. Pretty solid. Not a bad team at all. All right, next up we got Collie here. He includes some averages for us. Okay. So Profar on the left. Not a huge fan because he's not going to be good defensively. And then JD out of position, right? But at least you have Max Clark to kind of make up for him, I suppose. So I guess that's why I include the stats, because he knew I'd say get Cal Raleigh out of there. You'd be shocked. I mean, with parallels and inside edge, he looks pretty good right here. But it all just depends on what rank you're on, because after you get to Hall of Fame, he's going to be pretty miserable, would be my guesstimate. So 404, 104 games with him, 31 home runs. Not as many home runs as I would think. So he's just hitting a bunch of doubles or even singles because how slow he is. So not the craziest stats in the world. You'd like to see more home runs from a card with that much power. Profar hitting pretty good with. Actually, it's like a similar at-bat per home run ratio. A little worse on Profar, which you expect because he has way less power. So not bad at all with either of those. Bench, Santi on the bench, bro. What are we doing? I mean, if you actually feel that comfortable with Profar, I'd probably just DH him and get Santi in left. Or even like DH Santi or run him at first. I mean, that's crazy. Not only to go out your way and lock him in for like 100K, but then to bench him and not even play him is wild. Judge on the bench. I don't really know what value he has. I guess you like platoon him with your Don. If it's a lefty starter, then you hit with Judge, which is fine. But you could just do Santi there and have your bench for more defensive subs because it looks like you might be needing them. I don't know. I'm kind of mixed with this team. I kind of need like a rating because if you're at low, like if you're like sub 700 ranked, cool. Yeah, this team's good enough. If you get over 700, you're going to have some struggle games. Because, Roy Halladay, don't like this card. Don't like Garrett Cole. Do not like this Tanner card. So I think this might be the worst thing about this team, honestly. I think Sale you can get away with. I think Crochet, the hits are pretty low, but you can get away with because he's got really good pitches. The rest of these guys, not a ton of redeeming factors. Bullpen, Liam Hendricks, not a big fan of that. He is a little funky, but just throws like a default pitch mix. Has a new Kopech in, has Dibble in, has Mason Miller in. So not awesome there because that's like 3 of the same guy. More specifically, Kopech and Dibble are actually the same guy, and I would rather have Kopech. So yeah, if you haven't locked in that Dibble, I'd probably just sell him and just pocket the stubs, to be honest with you. And then you can have Mason Miller, you can have Kopech. I'm fine with that. You got a good amount of lefties, and you got some good quality lefties here. I'm not mad about any of them. Probably just replace like Dibble with like Gregory Soto. He's like 5K, and you'll just pocket the difference there. And then Liam Hendricks, it just depends, I guess. If you want to keep jotting him out there until he gives up 5 runs in one outing, you can do that. But I don't have a ton of confidence. So not a lot of info to work with here. Think I got also give this team like a 6.5 because I actually dude, there's some great stuff going on here. Like I don't mind Glaber. I love these two over here. I don't love Mookie at short, but if you're hitting good, then it doesn't really matter. And then I love Jordan, but like Santi on it's a mix. This is a roller coaster, honestly. So, yeah, I think 6.5 is right about where I feel. And we are already at 44 minutes. And if you guys thought I was playing, whew. So I would like to get through all these, but I can't sit here and upload lineup videos every day. So Fool's advice on upgrades did pretty good. World Series player. I did not think I would read this in the same, like, not the same sentence because it's not a run-on sentence, but you know what I mean. Whew. Veritech. Bro, this guy's messing with me. 85K, weakness been pitching. Full Yankees team. Okay. Woo! Oh my. All right, so here we go. I mean, how many lefties is that? Just two? Okay, so I don't like Beltre. Good third base defense, I suppose, but another guy that did Santi and doesn't have him playing. I just don't get it. Don't get it. I guess you don't have like an awesome spot for him. I mean, I think you have to play Babe for the boost, which I get, but I think Santi's better than Babe. I think he's better than Paul O'Neill. I think he's equal to Aaron Judge. And I think he's better than Manny. So it's just kind of probably would get him out there. I don't think. So you consider 51 speed at catcher to be an issue, which is interesting. But then have 50 speed at second base, where it's more important defensively. All right. There's a lot to break down here. Dude, I don't even know. I'm like lost. My brain has like short circuited. All right, here we go. So Messina, Bueller, Leiter, Fried, Holiday. Yes, believe it or not, I can tell that your starting rotation probably struggles at times. Messina, not a big fan of, but I think he's actually probably the best out of like Bueller and Fried. So I'd probably cycle those out for some. I think Holiday's terrible. He is not worth the Blue Jays boost. If you are not on like Legend or GOAT, I would probably steer clear of running Roy Halladay. Included his lineup. Yeah, I mean, there's just like no great speed options. I mean, if Lindor's batting ninth and that's your rationale for wanting Ozzie Smith, then cool, I guess. But I would personally probably not go that route. And just try to figure it out with Lindor or go get like the new Correa or something. I don't even know. I think there is just a fundamental difference with how we view the game. I think I would just run it a lot different, but there's nothing wrong with that. So probably give the team like a 7. I mean, I hate another 6.5. I think we're giving out a lot of 6.5 today. I think there's just a big difference with how we view the game. So I don't think there's a great compromise here, honestly. I think you got a lot of guys that you want to use because they're Yankees and stuff, and that's cool. But just know when you want to get competitive, you're probably not as worried about speed and running a theme team. So, all right. So next, and I guess final team here, we'll do Colton 700. There was one I really wanted to get to, so I might do one more just because I read the headline and actually clicked on it. But we'll do Colton as like our last like actual one, I think. All right, so he includes lineup here. All right, here we go. Not bad. What, two lefties? Not bad at all. Decent amount of Red Sox, so maybe you could think of like Buckholz for like the +1 contact or whatever, if you really want to. His outfield's pretty suspect defensively. I'd probably prefer. Okay, it depends on like your weakest link. You can either move Trout to right and then bring Mookie to second and Cattell to short, and then it's picking between Bregman and Seager. You can either run Seager out of position at third, or you can just get rid of Seager, or maybe even DH him. Other than that, your options are like picking between like Trout and Mookie, I suppose. And just finding a better defensive center fielder, because Trout's cool. He has okay speed, but he's like, honestly, Roman Anthony in center field is better defensively just because of the reaction, even though his speed doesn't cap out like quite as high. So I think I just want a center fielder with better reactions. There's just too many blue pits this year to have somebody getting like yellow jumps all the time in center field. So that would be my first little critique there. Lineup structure is whatever, because I mean, if you just want me to do your lineup structure, cool, like say that. But if I'm gonna change a bunch of cards around, I have no idea who's gonna be on your team. Schultz, Crochet, Tanner, Buchholz, and so yeah, Buchholz. I guess the boost just like doesn't show on the app. Lighter. I mean, it's just like a super budget rotation. I think you gotta put some stubs into the rotation eventually. There's not a ton of great options like auctionable. Most of them are like collections and stuff. But I mean, a Chris Sale wouldn't hurt. Like, just one of those like live series guys that like aren't a ton. But like, I mean, like Zach Wheeler should be better than Tanner, to be honest. Like there's some guys for like 20K that you can go out there and get, and we'll shove better than a lot of these guys. And then bullpen wise, not bad. I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 is a good amount of lefties. I don't really hate anybody. They're fine. Like Hobie has blow up potential, and I don't love Miller. I'd probably rather have Gold Matt Strom than Miller. But that's just kind of up to you. I think it's cool. So he's 700, full no money spent. So he just kind of got to Hall of Fame. So he's not super like worried about it, not super prioritized with Hall of Fame yet. I think you gotta get some better pitchers. I think it's doable with that pitching staff, but it's gonna be rough. You're gonna have some games where you're just down 6-0 in the third inning, and you gotta claw back because of your pitching staff. So I'd probably start to chip away at that and work on that. But overall, not bad. Probably like a 7 flat. I think the bullpen's your best attribute. Bullpen's really good. I think the rotation and lineup could use a little bit of work. All right, final one I wanted to go over was Lucas, because he just wanted to flex. Terrible squad, hit 1,000 with. And from what I saw, he was not lying. It's not the most ideal team, but it does go to show you that just being good at the game and putting your head down enough, you can achieve what you want to get to. So we got Santi, Bobby Grich. Honestly, this card's super slept on. Like his swing's pretty nice. The problem is his clutch. His clutch is awful. If I played you on Legend, he's getting away sliders 80% of the time. That's just how it's gonna be. Ellie, good as like a platoon option, but it doesn't even look like you're platooning him, so you're just kind of eating the lefty at bats and being cool with like hitting 200 on infield singles against lefties, which is fine. Schwarby, can't really hate on him, especially if you're running the Phillies boost. That card actually gets pretty nasty, but doesn't look like you are. Breggy, no problem there. McCutchen, dude, I mean, I'm sure his bat's very nice. His defense is some of the worst I've seen, legitimately. So that would probably be my biggest gripe with the entire team is PCA would just be way better in center field than Jenkins. And Andrew McCutchen might be the worst defensive right fielder in the. I think I'd rather have Aaron Judge for the height, so when he gets those reach up animations, he can actually somewhat catch him, because Andrew McCutchen's terrible and has like 20 arm. And then Christian in left, so really the lineup ain't too bad. The rotation's kind of the scary part. And yeah, I mean, dang, like that's all you really need out of your rotation. Not a true ace, which sucks, but that's just kind of the reality. If you don't have like Clemens, or if you don't go out your way to get Randy or John and kind of overpay for them, you don't really have an ace right now. But you don't have to have one. But that's just kind of one of the big differences between having like a God squad and a team like this is you might have to play 50 games. You might have to, you're going to get some sweaty games. You're going to get some heartbreakers with a team like this. Whereas with the God squad, you know, you pitch Clemens, you're walking into the game with like a 70% chance to win. You pitch John, you pitch Randy, there's a better chance you win than you lose. So that's where having aces kind of help you. But you can make it work with this one. You can make it shake kind of by committee more so. So Milner, jacks, don't like jacks. But David, good on legend, honestly. Not bad on legend. If you were lower than legend, I wouldn't recommend him. But on legend, I feel like you can cook with him. But not the worst team in the world. Let's see. He includes, yeah. So this is about the game I expect with this team. Beat a pretty solid, established 1,000 player. He did it in Weekend Classic, so he probably had a pretty good Weekend Classic. But just kind of goes to show you what you can do. If you're nasty at the game, it doesn't really matter what your team looks like. You will find a way. But hopefully you guys enjoyed. If I did not get you lined up, again, I am sorry, but you saw it. We have like 40, 50 submissions, and each one takes a minimum of like 2 minutes to go over. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. We'll try to get back to them. You may have to resubmit. It just kind of depends on when we get the next one out. I would like to do it probably like 4 or 5 days from now. So if you want to resubmit, you can. If you don't, I get that too. So peace.